Hey, what's up? Hello. If you're new here, my name is Kayla and you are watching Kayla's Bookish Vibes. Today's video is going to be a part 2. I already have a video here on my channel where I'm recommending mystery, thriller, and horror novels written by Black authors. And it's a new year, so I thought I've read more books, I have more books to recommend, why not do a part 2? So that's what we're going to be doing today. If you clicked on today's video, then you were looking for more mysteries, thrillers, and horror novels written by Black authors, and I'm here to put some of these on your radar. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get started. The first author I have for you is Victor LaValle. The first one being The Ballad of Black Tom. This is a novella and I read it, I believe last year, and really enjoyed it. It's very short. This is a book that you could read in a day. And in this book, we are following Tom, aka Black Tom. Tom is a hustler of sorts. He walks around in a black suit and an empty guitar, honestly just trying to hustle his way and make some money. He's also taking care of his sick father. And one day while he's trying to make some money and get some extra cash, he decides to deliver a book to a woman out in Queens. This does take place in the 1920s in New York. Unbeknownst to Tom, when he hands the book over to the woman in Queens, he opens up a magical portal. Now Tom has no clue what he has stepped into, but he is going to soon find out. This book gets very weird very quickly, and it's very short. You can read it in a day, but I definitely recommend. It is horror, so there are some gory bits in here, but I honestly didn't mind. And every time I read a Victor LaValle novel, after I read it, I always just sit and wonder, like, what the heck did I just read? It is something that you're going to have to chew on for a few days, and you'll see some of the themes and stuff that were explored here, but I do highly recommend Victor LaValle's writing. I've never given anything he's written less than 4 stars. The second book is also by Victor LaValle, and that is Lone Woman. I read this book about 2 years ago, I believe, and I really enjoyed it. I gave it 4 stars. This book starts off quick. Like as soon as you open the book, chapter 1, page 1, we're getting to it, okay? It is a horror novel. We're following a young lady who's moving out into the West, and she's traveling with this trunk. However, the trunk is quite large and she keeps it locked, and she doesn't allow anyone to go into the trunk, which obviously makes people want to know, what does she have in this trunk? Somehow what's in the trunk gets let out of the trunk and all hell breaks loose. Again, another weird novel by Victor LaValle, but very interesting and very entertaining. Highly recommend, 4 stars. Next, I'm going to go with Ella Stratton's Not So Perfect Strangers. I did a reading vlog with this book where I was doing like an author taste test where I was trying to try out some new authors that I have never heard of before. And so I read 2 of her books. I have Not So Perfect Strangers and Do What Godmother Says. This one was a 4-star for me. It was so good, so fast paced, and I really loved the social commentary that was mentioned here, but it wasn't like beating you over the head with it. We are following 2 women. One is a Black woman who is in a domestic violence situation that she is trying to flee. And while she's trying to flee that situation one night, she runs into a white woman, literally like they collide paths, and she believes that she is helping this white woman escape a similar situation that she has. She takes the woman to a friend's house and she drops her off, and she thinks nothing of it. This is probably the last time I'll ever see this woman. However, it's not the last time she sees her. Their paths do cross again, and things get very weird very quickly. I highly recommend this one, especially for my girls who are like scaredy cats, girls or guys who are scaredy cats, who want a thriller, but they don't want anything horrific or gory. They don't want to be scared too badly. They just want something that's thrilling. This is one of those books. It's thrilling, but it's not scary. Do What Godmother Says by Alice Stratton. This takes place in the 1920s, and it gets 2 points of view, 2 different timelines as well. So we get the 1920s timeline, but we also get the present day timeline. My preference in this book was the 1920s timeline. Honestly, I just love the 1920s anyway, but that point of view, in my opinion, was better written than the present day timeline. Shanice is helping her grandmother clean out her home. And while she's helping her, she comes across a photo or a painting, and her grandmother says, you know, you can have this photo, take it home with you, it's yours. Shanice doesn't necessarily want the painting, but if grandma tells you to take the painting home, you take the painting home. Now Shanice is thinking maybe this painting is worth some money, so she goes to get the painting appraised, and lo and behold, it is worth a lot of money. Estelle is the second point of view that we follow in the 1920s, and she is the painter or the artist of the painting, and that's all she wants to do with her life. Luckily for her, she comes across Maud Bachman, who is a patron, and she offers Estelle like, hey, I will fund your lifestyle and all you have to do is focus on your art, but in exchange, I will own all the rights to your art. Estelle's point of view is my favorite. It is the most sinister to me. There are themes of cults going on in this book. This is like a gothic thriller, if you will, from that point of view. But the present day point of view, where we're following Shanice, is more just like a regular thriller, and Shanice is just, you know, a young girl making very dumb decisions. I did enjoy this book, not as much as I enjoyed Not So Perfect Strangers, but I do recommend them both, especially if you're someone who likes historical fiction. I think you may really enjoy the historical elements of this book. Next, we have What You Leave Behind by Miss Wanda M. Morris. I really enjoyed this book and ended up giving it 4 stars. This one hit very close to home for me. So in this book, we are following a lawyer from Georgia. She's down on her luck, okay? She's just recently lost her job. She recently had a divorce, and her mother has recently passed. So she's moved back home with her father to try to get herself together, regroup, and regather herself. While she's there, she's taking a walk, just trying to clear her mind, and she comes across an old man on his property. This old man is Henri, and he approaches her with a gun, lets her know, you are trespassing, you are not welcome here, and no matter what you say, I will not sell my land. She does not try to explain that she's not here to purchase his land. She just hightails it out of there. But now she can't stop thinking about this old man. He returns back to his land to check on him, and he's gone. Not only is he gone, his trailer's gone, and so is his dog. So now she is trying to figure out what happened to this man, and why is his land all of a sudden up for sale when he was so adamant yesterday that he would not sell it to me. I really enjoyed this book because it really discovers and discusses the situation that's going on in the Carolinas and in coastal Georgia, where people's heirs' property, or property that has been in their family for a very long time, for generations, is being stolen from them. Sometimes it's being purchased for them at very low cost. And sometimes this land is being taken and the owners don't even know that they have a right to this land. This hits very close to home for me because my husband and his father actually went through a very similar situation in South Carolina. Thankfully, they were able to retain their land, but not everyone is able to do so. So I really did enjoy this book because it's a topic that I'm really interested in, and I think she nailed it. I wanted to know how she was able to take that topic and twist it into a thriller, and I think she did an amazing job doing so. Highly recommend this book. Next, we have a psychological thriller. This one is called One of Us Knows by Alyssa Cole. This is one of those books you either love or you hate. So many of my peers did not like this book. I, however, really enjoyed it, so I'm going to add it to this list. We are following Kenitra Nash and her alters. She has dissociative identity disorder. She has been given an opportunity to become a resident caretaker for this historical building out on an island, and she takes it. It gets very creepy very fast. Again, she has dissociative identity disorder, so we get a look into the multiple of her identities. And it's a very atmospheric read. I remember reading this and thinking it's just atmospheric. I believe I gave this a 3.5 and we rounded it up to a 4. I enjoyed it. I thought this was a really good time. It does drag a little bit, but it's very entertaining. So if you're looking for a mystery thriller, then I would suggest this one. Again, just go into it knowing that it wasn't everyone's cup of tea, but it was definitely my cup of tea. The next book we have is The Reformatory by Tananarive Due. If you know, you know. There was no way I could make this video without mentioning this book. This is a historical horror novel. 5 stars, 10 stars out of 10 stars. You need to read this book if you haven't already. In this book, we are following a pair of siblings who are trying to take care of one another. And in doing so, one of them gets into a little bit of trouble where he ends up going to the reformatory school. However, this is not a school. This is more of a jail, and horrible things happen in this place. The young man, Robbie, who is the one who ends up going to the school, has a very soft and sweet countenance, so he's not going to do well in this situation. His big sister knows this, and she's trying her best to get him out of the situation, and we go from there. There are ghosts in this book. Haints is what they're called, and there are a lot of horrific themes being explored as it comes to racism. This book does take place in the 1950s in Florida, so there is a lot of horrific things that happen racially, so be prepared going into it. Check the trigger warnings for that, but I highly recommend this book. It was so well written, and I absolutely gush over this book every time I mention it. If you've watched my channel for any length of time, then you know how obsessed I am with this book. Next, by the same author, Tananarive Due, I have Ghost Summer Stories. After reading The Reformatory, I needed to read more books by Tananarive Due, so I picked up Ghost Summer Stories from my library, and I enjoyed it. I read it over the summer. This is a series of short stories. Again, it's just a series of horror novels, so I won't tell you what each story is about. Her writing is amazing, and you will not be disappointed. The perfect book to pick up in the summer time because it's a series of short stories. I typically find that I pick these types of books up in October and November, and those books are usually bigger and you spend more time with those books. But in the summertime, if you're looking for something that's thrilling or horrific and you just want to spend a little bit of time dabbling in that, I highly recommend this one because you can read a short story and keep it pushing. Next, we have a book by Tananarive Due that I have not read yet, but I'm looking forward to it, and that is called The Good House. After so many people have seen how much I love the reformatory, everyone has told me that I need to read this book, and that's exactly what I'm going to be doing. I can't wait to get into this book and get back into Miss Tananarive Due's writing. If I know anything about Tananarive Due's writing, which I think I'm, beginning to get well versed in it, I'm going to love this book. Next, we have Lakewood by Megan Giddings. I have not read this book yet, but I am excited to get to it. In this book, I believe we are following a young lady whose grandmother has passed, but now her family has inherited a lot of debt. And in order to help her family pay down this debt, she enters into like this facility where they are doing experiments on Black people, and she's getting paid to do these experiments. It says all Lena has to do is participate in a secret research program full of seemingly world-changing discoveries. An eye drop that makes brown eyes blue, a medication that could cure dementia, golden pills promised to make all bad things go away. But the consequences for the subjects involved could be devastating. Sounds very creepy, very eerie, and I'm excited to read this one. Next, we're going to get into some YA books. All of the books that I have mentioned previously have been adult novels. These are going to be some YA books. The first YA novel I have for you is There's No Way I'd Die First by Lisa Springer. This is a YA horror novel, and I have to tell you, it is completely unhinged. I read this book last year, and I really honestly enjoyed it. As someone who can be scared very easily, I really enjoyed this book. I think the comedic relief was paced perfectly so that right when I would get a little scared, it would make me laugh. This young lady is into horror. She loves horror movies, she loves horror novels, and she knows all the tropes. She wants to start a horror podcast, and before doing so, she decides to host a Halloween party where she invites all the top influencers of her school to this party. They get there, and she also invites a clown to be a part of the festivities. Obviously, this is a scary clown because it's a Halloween party. However, the clown is the very real deal, and the clown is killing these children. Highly recommend if you're looking for a YA horror. Again, it's unhinged at times. Like, there are people dying in this book, like, don't get me wrong, but there are also a lot of funny bits in it. It's a very YA horror novel. Next, I have Delicious Monsters by Lizelle Samberry. I really enjoyed this one. You're getting two different points of view, two different timelines. So Daisy is a young girl who is able to see ghosts. She does not want this ability, but she has to cope with it. One day, her and her mother, who are lower to working middle class, realize that they have inherited a mansion out in the country of Canada. This does take place in Toronto. So they go out to this home and they want to turn it into an Airbnb so that they can have extra income. However, Daisy's ability to see ghosts, obviously some creepy things start happening and taking place at this house. The second point of view we're getting is Brittany. Brittany has like a web series that she does, and her timeline takes place like 10 years after Daisy's timeline, and she's investigating what happened to Daisy and her mom when they took over this house. Highly recommend. Very atmospheric, very creepy, very eerie, but also really good. Again, this one is also YA. All right, the last book I have for you is Escaping Mr. Rochester by L.L. McKinney. This is also YA, and I'm really excited to get to this one because it is a Jane Eyre retelling. I haven't actually read Jane Eyre, and I don't think that I will, but I do want to read this book. It says, Jane Eyre has no interest in a husband. Eager to make her own way in the world, she accepts the governor's position at Thornfield Hall. Though her new employer, Edward Rochester, has a charming air, not to mention a handsome face, Jane discovers that his smile can sharpen in an instant. Plagued by Edward's mood and strange wails that echo through the corridors, Jane grows suspicious of the secrets hidden within Thornfield Hall, unaware of the true horrors lurking above her head. Then it says, on the topmost floor, Bertha Mason is trapped in more ways than one. After her whirlwind marriage to Edward turned into a nightmare, he locked her away as revenge for withholding her inheritance. Now his patience grows thin in the face of Bertha's resilience and Jane's persistent questions, and both young women are in more danger than they realize. I can't wait to read this one. I feel like I'm going to read it in the spooky season, so probably in October or November, but I am really excited to get to this one. Those are all the books that I have for you in this video. I gave you some adult novels, some YA novels. I do personally love a good YA, but these are all books written by Black authors about Black characters. So hopefully you were able to find some that maybe you've never heard of and that you can add to your TBR. Thank you so much if you stayed until the end of today's video. If you did, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and leave this emoji to let me know if you found anything that you were interested in reading, and I will see you guys in my next video. Bye.